Hey everybody, welcome back to NoDQ&A Video, the official Q&A video series for NoDQ.com. Just got back from my little trip to Hawaii. People have been asking me how it went. I had a great time. It was awesome. I posted pictures on my Facebook page, facebook.com/AaronRift for anyone that's interested. But enough of that. Got a lot of questions here. It's time to get back down to business. We have Money in the Bank coming up in less than 2 weeks. So with that being said, let's get right down to it. First one today comes from Default Mark. Hey Aaron, a recent report stated that WWE is very confident that Sting will eventually join the roster. Do you think a Sting versus Undertaker match at WrestleMania 30 would be a better idea than an Undertaker versus John Cena match? I think in terms of just pure box office potential, I think that Undertaker and John Cena would be the bigger match. I think that Undertaker versus John Cena has the biggest box office potential of any WWE match possible. And with all due respect to Sting, I think Sting versus Undertaker might be a bigger deal to the more die-hard wrestling fans, but in terms of the overall casual audience, I still don't think a lot of your younger fans know who Sting is. And I'm sure with video packages and all that, the fans would get to know Sting, and that match could have a big impact on WrestleMania. But I still think because John Cena is WWE's top star, and because he's won so many matches, he would be the most credible opponent for The Undertaker, and the fans would be able to suspend disbelief and think that if anybody could beat Undertaker, it's John Cena. So, I still think that would be the biggest match, but if Sting's available and Sting wants to come in and do a match with Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, I say go for it. Hell, do John Cena versus The Rock 3 for all I care. If you could get Sting for WrestleMania, I would do that. So I think Sting versus Undertaker would be better for us fans, the fans watching this video, the diehard wrestling fans. But just in terms of WWE making the most money, I think Undertaker and John Cena would be their best bet. All right, this one comes from Chained Raven. Do you see the Big Show hanging up his boots sometime? Considering you could call his late 2012 world title run as his last world title run as a way of saying thanks, or does he still need to win the WWE title again? Well, I don't think Big Show needs to win a title at this point, and as far as him hanging up his boots and calling it a career, I could see him going for several more years. I think he has the attitude that as long as his body's holding up, he'll keep doing it. He loves wrestling. It's in his blood. The only way I could see him retiring immediately is if he has some sort of serious injury, like with Edge. But I think that if his body holds up, he can continue doing it for a few more years. And, it's hard for guys to just walk away. I could see Big Show perhaps taking some time off and coming back and doing a Chris Jericho type schedule. But, guys like Kane, guys like Big Show, they just keep going and going. So it's hard to say when he will finally decide to call it a career. But I think as long as he can keep doing it physically, he'll try to stick around in some capacity. All right, this one comes from OMCN36. Hey Aaron, huge fan. I know you don't like TNA and all, but I was wondering when you think the Joseph Park angle will end. We all know that it's Abyss. Why can't they just end the charade? I hate to break it to you, but this angle is never going to end. TNA is actually planning to drag this angle out for all eternity. In all seriousness, I have no idea. I don't know when TNA is going to end this angle. If it was me, it would have been done a long time ago. To be honest, I actually liked the angle at first, the whole Joseph Park Abyss double personality thing. But then after a couple months, I'm like, all right, get to the point here. Let's end this already. And it's been going on for over a year now. So I think it's time to just have a resolution to this storyline and some sort of ending and move on. I definitely think that it's been long played out. All right, this one comes from 310 Lake Show. Hey Aaron, your videos are always great. I wanted to know what you thought of the Spirit Squad, who I noticed were missing from your Worst Factions video. Well, they weren't in that video because I don't consider them to be one of the worst factions in wrestling history. I actually thought that they were okay. I thought that they made for good Vince McMahon, his henchmen to try to take out DX, and the stuff with the trampoline and the finishing move where they all pick up the guy like 10 feet in the air or whatever, and they did it to Shawn Michaels, put him through the table. I mean, some of those moments were really cool, I thought. And, it was a starting point for a lot of superstars, most notably Dolph Ziggler in that role. So, I think it has its place in history, and, it was a decent stable for what it was. And, WWE didn't drag it out too long. I mean, they had them do the Spirit Squad gimmick for 6 months to a year, and then when they got old, the group split up. It didn't continue on and on and on. So, I really had no issues with the Spirit Squad. All right, this one comes from Andrew Holly 1. Will we ever see two brands again? SmackDown and Raw. I've actually been getting a lot of questions about the brand extension. Will WWE take it seriously again and have two actual brands? I really don't know at this point. I think that with Raw being 3 hours, WWE wants to have as much talent as possible on one show. So, and also you have to look at the house shows. SmackDown, as its own brand, hasn't been doing very well in terms of house show business. So WWE has done the dual branded shows, and they've been making more money, and they've been selling more tickets for those shows. So, WWE's just trying to survive it and stay in business and make the most money. So, if that means there's only one official brand or whatever. They're going to do what they're going to do to make the most money. So I don't know if they're going to go back to two brands. I think it would be difficult because I don't know if fans could take the two brands seriously again, and it would really take a lot of work, especially for SmackDown, to build it up as its own brand again. So at this point, I think it's pretty much dead, and I don't think that WWE is popular enough for them to try to take that kind of risk. I mean, when they did the brand extension in 2002, WWE was still a hot commodity, and they had such a huge roster of talent that they could split up the brands. And now they don't have quite as many guys on the roster, so I just think it would be too risky at this point to try to do two brands. All right, this one comes from DeathWish21. Hey Aaron, first time asking a question, all right? Will Rey Mysterio return? And if so, do you think he'll be holding any titles? Well, at this point, Rey Mysterio is expected back sometime this summer. I think they're shooting for SummerSlam to bring him back. As far as him holding any titles, I think it's unlikely. Rey Mysterio's career is definitely starting to wind down, and he could be just one more serious injury away from retirement. And, WWE's not going to put a title on him when he could end up getting hurt again and being out of action, perhaps for good. So I think it's unlikely that he wins a title. But I could see him getting a push towards a title and perhaps getting back in the world title picture. So I could see that happening maybe one more time before he retires. I mean, I think that, as long as Rey Mysterio can go, you should push him, and there's still value in having him around and putting him in big marquee matches. All right, the final one today comes from Mr. Stolly718. Hey Aaron, since Zeb Colter is now managing both Antonio Cesaro and Jack Swagger, wouldn't it make sense for WWE to make them a key focal point in the tag team division? That way the talent isn't going to waste. Well, the problem is that you already have the Shield as the top heel tag team, and they're the tag team champions. And Cesaro and Swagger obviously heels, so they're going to be secondary to the Shield right now. So that's the problem right there. And as it is, WWE is not really focusing on the tag teams, so they are kind of in a bad spot. But at least they have something to do. So at least Antonio Cesaro is getting TV time, and I think that's better than him getting no TV time at this point. So as long as they got something for him to do, I see it as a positive. And it keeps him on the roster and keeps him on television, and I mean that's really important for him to be on TV, because once you're gone from television for a period of time, it's hard to get back on TV and be able to once you're out of the public eye, it's hard to get back in it, especially if you're not a top level superstar. All right, that'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Going back to my normal routine here with the daily videos. So you have any suggestions or ideas for videos, leave a comment, youtube.com/NoDQCAW, and keep subscribing, keep spreading the word, and I'll see you next time for more No DQ&A video.